Hello, everybody, and welcome to Alternative Interactions. I'm Gary. Well, it's October the 8th, so I'm a bit behind on this one. But I'm going to do a October forecast with the Pendulum today and have a little look at a few questions that I've got in my mind that perhaps some of you do, and just ask the Pendulum a few questions about kind of what's going on, sort of current events, and we'll see where it leads us. I've got a few questions in front of me that I've written down, and with the guidance of the higher self and the pendulum, um, we'll have a look and see what we can get and find. So, without further ado, as they say, let's start. So I've actually managed to find a place for my hand to go for the pendulum, and it's rocking backwards and forwards, which shows that the pendulum's happy to work, and we're all switched on and ready to rock and roll, as they would say. So, first question I've got is about digital ID. Now, I personally don't believe it's going to be a runner long term. I really don't. But I think there's going to be some differences country to country. Is what I've got already. So I'm going to start, a few countries, and then I'm just going to do Europe as a whole. So, with the digital ID system, higher self, and by the way, higher self, are you happy to work with me and answer the questions today? And there we go. We get a yes. So it's going clockwise, which is a yes. Okay. So thank you very much. Um, could you show the audience a no as well, please? And it's anti-clockwise. Come on, you can do better than that. Come on, there we go. It's anti-clockwise. Okay. So that's a no. Thank you very much. Okay. So digital IDs. Will the digital ID come into force in the United Kingdom? Okay, we get a yes. Will that digital ID be picked up by the vast majority of people? No. Anti-clockwise. Okay, thank you. Will digital ID ultimately fail in United Kingdom? Yes, it will. Will the government, United Kingdom's government, be taken to court, and will this be stopped in the courts for breaking the ECHR, European Commission's Human Rights Act? Yeah, which is why we have currently the majority of the political parties threatening to or wanting to stop the ECHR. Interesting. Okay, so let's go to Canada. Will Canada have digital ID um, placed upon its citizens? That's a big yes. Brushed my arm. So stronger yes than the UK. Will again, will a digital ID in Canada cause more problems for the Canadian citizens than it would in the UK? Yeah. So I think you're in for a much rougher time than we are in the UK. Will the digital ID ultimately fail in Canada? Clockwise, that's a yes. 'Cause. 'Yes. 'Cause. 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 'Cause Will it, will Canada be one of the last places to be freed from digital ID? Yeah. So I think Canada, you've got a big issue there with your current leader, Mr. Carney. Okay. So will Australia have the digital ID implemented? Yes. Similar swing to UK though. Didn't hit my arm. Um, will it fail in the same kind of way that it will in the UK, as in not be particularly, yeah, that's what I feel. So you're going to get it, but it's going to go fairly quickly, um, unlike Canada. Okay, so it's going to fail. Um, so that's Australia. So Australia, is Australia's reading virtually identical to United Kingdom's in the digital ID? Yes, that's what I get. Okay, Australia, it's hit my arm. So yeah, 100%. You're going to mirror us, but Canada will not. Canada's going to get it far worse. Um, I've seen previously about digital ID in the United States of America for being able to vote. Will the entirety of the United States of America bring in digital ID in the future? Yes. Okay. So, is this only for voting purposes? Tiny no. Tiny no. Will ultimately, the main reason why people would have a digital ID in America be for voting in the future? Yeah, 80%. Okay, so um, my thoughts on digital ID are not positive in any way, shape, or form. And so, if you have a current president, prime minister, or anybody else bringing in digital ID for whatever reason, you're in trouble. Okay, so I'm getting this there. Will there be mass non-compliance in the USA over digital ID? Huge, yeah, it hit my arm. Yeah, it's hit my arm. So there's going to be mass non-compliance on this, and as it's a voting system, I'm guessing that will affect whoever as whoever's base is relying on a certain group of patriots to vote for them. They could be in trouble. Am I right with this synopsis of what could be? Yeah, yeah. So it's going to be kind of shooting yourself in the foot. Okay. So can we look at the European Union and Europe as a whole, please? Um, they're going to get digital ID. Yes, very strong yes. Um, will the digital ID in Europe be worse than it is in Canada, or is going to be in Canada? Yeah. So I think the European Union or European countries, are going to really, it's hit my arm, they're really going to suffer with the digital ID. And I think it's gonna become very draconian for a while. But ultimately, in every single country we've spoken about, every region across the world, will digital IDs succeed and be a thing in the future? Big no. Okay. So this is a phase they're trying to do. Um, is this more of a wake-up call than an implement? Is this a wake-up call for the general public to see what could happen? Yeah, it's kind of part of the movie. Um, yeah, it's hit my arm. So this is part of the movie I'm getting. It's something that we have to go through for the wake up of the people. I mean, obviously we have to play our role and fight it. So when the energy's going through, I get muscle ache, very bad muscle ache. Um, so yeah, digital ID is going to be coming into every country. I think in the UK and Australia, it's going to fail fairly quickly. It's not going to be a runner. Canada, I think, is going to cause a lot of issues, and Europe's going to be even worse. So, you know, we've just seen a vote, haven't we, in Sweden, not Sweden, Switzerland. Do apologise, dyslexia. Yeah, Switzerland have just voted it in, and I think it was 49.4 against and 50.64, something crazily close. If you believe that vote, you believe anything, anything that close. As far as I'm concerned, there's no mandate whatsoever. But obviously, we're living in a mono-party and controlled system, and those that do the counting on the votes get the answer they want, don't they? Now, this leads me on to the banking system. Okay. Now in Vietnam, 86 million, that's 86 million accounts were frozen and cannot be accessed until they go into their digital ID. Now, I know that the BIS, the Bank of International Settlement, is completely 100% behind the digital ID and the digital banking stuff and the climate bits and pieces, carbon footprint. There's a I put it up on my Telegram channel yesterday. Some images I took off Instagram, and it shows you the fat banker that I was talking about in one of my previous shows. Now, will the Bank of International Settlement use other banks to implement digital ID via the back door? There we go. Yes. It's hit my arm. It's hit my arm. There we go. It's just swinging backwards and forwards now, just tapping my arm. Very interesting. Remember, the banks aren't your friends. And I could go on with a long speech about banks and that you don't own your own money in the bank and all that kind of stuff. And not financial advice, but if you hold gold and silver, then you're your own bank and they can't do anything to you, physically hold it. I know the money programs I do are not popular, but they're very, very important that you understand how the Bank of International Settlement, that controls all the central banks around the world, controls this world. Now, to access the banks, are the banks going to use an app on our phones to trick us into digital IDs for accessing? Yeah, real strong yes. So the banks are going to use internet banking, remembering they're closing branches everywhere in the United Kingdom. I'm sure they are everywhere else. They're going to use the lack of branch access and the continued use of the public using non-cash as a way to lock people into digital ID for access of their accounts. Yes. Will we be able to access our accounts via not using this app still? Yes. Okay. So don't fall for the trickery and the skullduggery of, oh, just click here, all your stuff will be here and all your data, and you can access your account really easily. One click button. One click button is digital ID. Okay. And they're going to use mobile phones and mobile devices to slide this under the back door. Is digital ID a positive thing for the human race? No. Going anti-clockwise. Okay. Now it's going to fail. I'm certain it's going to fail. Um, so are we going to see the implementation of digital IDs via the back door during the month of October? Yeah. So the banks are going to try and bring it in first. The government in the UK is already doing this via HMRC, Managed Revenue and Custom, for company directors. So if you own a large company, you're fundamentally going to be forced to use a digital ID or shut your company down. Oh yeah. What I said, is that their plan? Yes. Will they be successful in their plan? Anti-clockwise, no. Okay. So it will be a partial success, obviously, because some people will always go into the slave system, but 85, 90% no. Okay. Now, that brings us on to the banking industry as such. Now, the banking industry is currently beginning the collapse of the financial system. We're seeing the collapse of the financial system. Is this correct? Yes, clockwise. So we're seeing the collapse of the banking system. Will the banking meltdown collapse be obvious to the public in October? No. So the bankers are going to hide the financial collapse. They're hiding it. So that's interesting. And just to be clear, with the higher self, we're talking about the current month we're in now, and we're talking about the next um, 23, 22 shars, turnings of the stars, stroke days. Or are we in accordance with that higher self? Yeah, yeah. So the higher self is I'm just making sure that we're on the same page. Okay. So will there be an event in October that we haven't seen yet or may have seen that will be seen as in history as the event that caused the collapse? Different question. Big yes. Very big yes. Just hit my arm. So something in October is going to happen that in history will be seen as the collapse of the financial system we have now. Is there any way that I am wrong in that statement? And it's going to a no. Okay. So we're going to have something that's going to happen in October that's going to cause or will be seen in history as the point in which the first domino clearly fell. But we won't see that until after the event. I suspect not until around December. Am I correct in this analogy? When we have a bit of time to reflect, yeah, it'll be around very strong, yes, straight away. So around the month of December, we will have the clarity to look back and see what's gone on. So, it's been brought up by a channel that the undersea cables between America and the UK could either be cut or the system shut down under the guise of being cut to hide any financial crash. Is this information correct? Wow. Yes, it is. Will the undersea cables be cut, physically cut? No. Will the undersea cables, will we be told that they're being cut, but actually be turned off so that the public can't see what's going on with the financial system? Big yes. Okay, it's hit my arm. Let's just bang, bang, bang. Okay. Now, when they cut the cables, we won't be able to see the price of anything, as in gold and silver or anything else. So it's going to cause a lot of issues potentially. It won't affect general public, in my opinion, with cash going to and from the bank and bits and pieces. But will there be restrictions within the banking system during this period? Yeah, there'll be restrictions. Yeah, hit my arm. Will these restrictions affect the general public's ability to get cash out? Yeah, it'll be tricky, but you'll still be able to. What I'm getting. So, will this issue affect people being able to use their debit and credit cards for purchases? It's gonna hit my arm. Yeah, it's hitting my arm. Yeah, it is. It's gonna be a problem. It's gonna be a problem. So that's very interesting. So the cables, the underground cables, will also affect our connectivity to America. So will this affect the web, the World Wide Web? Will this have a huge impact on the World Wide Web and our connection to the world from Europe? Yeah, hit my arm. Now I've got a feeling this is going to happen. We're around the 30th, I know, and dates, the higher self and dates. But at the end of October, we've got a sun sologram minimum, I believe. It could be a maximum. Dyslexia, I can't remember which one it is. But there is going to be some kind of effect that hits us from the sun and energy. Will this be used as the excuse for the cable and the lack of, yeah, internet? Okay, so it looks like they're going to use all of that. So there's so the other question is that sun grand solar maximum or minimum, I can't remember which one it is, the higher self will know and you can check it out. Will that have an effect on electricity and connections to everywhere else in the world, between the world? Yeah, definitely. So there's something going to happen at the end of October, around the 30th. Before or after, I don't know. But that's kind of what we're getting, okay? And again, we won't know these things properly until we have the ability to look back on them in time. Okay. So we could be without the internet. Is this what's classed as and has been spoken about by some as the 3 days of darkness? Yes. Yes, but not big yes. Okay. Okay. So so we know there's going to be electrical issues. Is that confirmed that we're going to have electricity shutdowns and there could be intermittent? Is that okay? So would that be lasting for, that was a yes, by the way. Would that be lasting for 3 days or three showers, more than three showers? Will you answer this question? No, no. Pendulum was just going backwards and forwards and wouldn't do anything else apart from that. So the question is that it's fundamentally not going to answer. So is it correct that you will not answer any questions regarding times, amount of period, and what's going on? Yeah. Okay. So that's interesting. So there's something going to be happening in October. Okay. Now, one of the questions that would be of interest to everybody would will there be an EBS during this period? Emergency broadcast system. And the pendulum's just going backwards and forwards and will not answer. So make of that what you will. I'll also ask, will we be seeing a lockdown coming from this? And again, the pendulum is just going backwards and forwards. Make of that what you will. So I can't get an answer. That's absolutely fine. We're not meant to know everything, are we? So we have to understand things are fluid often. Okay. Now, are you happy to continue answering other questions? By yourself? Yes, you are. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Now, we're starting to see, I'm told, I don't have any access to this, but apparently in the UK and mainstream, we're starting to see the odd report about health issues, COVID, and the 10 dart finish. Are we going to see in the mainstream media revelations about what has gone on during the 2020 and 2021 pandemic height? Yes. It's not hit my arm, so I think, how can I put this? Are we going to see the beginning of the disclosure at some point during this month to the general public? Yeah, that's hit my arm. So that's very interesting and could link into an EBS and lockdown that we can't get an answer for. But it would make sense to me that if the co and 1 and 9 and the 10 dart finish was to come out, um, to the public and start be reported on with the issues, um, it it will cause some distress. So we'll be seeing mass distress within the public arena over this issue. Yes, we will straight away. Okay, so that's another cause of concern, and certainly um, part of the domino effect that we could be seeing coming forward on that one. Now, I don't really want to go much further on that one, as you can imagine, because it's YouTube. Um, we all know about that situation, and I think all we can do is support those around us. So now the next question I've got is about little ones. Will a little one's scandal break at some point in the next or this month? Yeah. Will this involve someone that we were not expecting it to come from? Yes. So this is not, is this going to be a Jeffrey Epstein disclosure? No, it's not. Something else. Something is going to come from the left field. It's going to be something out of the blue that comes in regarding the little ones and something that's happened. Big yes. Um, is this going to add fuel to the fire on top of what is currently going to be going on with the previous question about the cove? Yeah. Is this going to create an upswell of anger across the entire realm because it's going to be that big? It's hitting my arm, probably hitting my arm. Okay. So I think it's going to be a real domino of bang, 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 bang. There's going to be stuff coming out left, right, and center. It's going to be one of those things where before you can take a breath on one kind of revelation, there'll be something else coming out, something else coming out, and something else coming out about all sorts of things. Pendulum, can you confirm, am I correct in my analogy of what's going to be happening? And I'm getting more the end of October on this. Yeah, hit my arm. Is there any way that I am wrong with what I'm saying? No. I'm not quite right. I'm not 100% right on that one, as in the way it's going to happen. But what I'm getting and the feelings and stuff and what I've been guided to write, I think it is you know, I mean, I've written cover up on my thing. Is cover up the yeah, cover up some big cover up. It's hit my arm. So now I'm going to finish this on hopefully a slightly better and higher vibrational um, topic, which will be Three Eye Atlas. Um, so the Three Eye Atlas is part of an armada of craft. Is this correct? It's going clockwise. So yes, it's an armada, group of, big group of craft. It's just hit my arm. There we go. So this month, are we going to see, is the public going to see an increase in visual sightings of craft, of real craft in the sky? Yeah, hit my arm. So that's a yes. Will this be Project Bluebeam or the authorities doing this? No. Anti-clockwise. In the month of October, will certain people or individuals have physical contact with the beings inside these craft? Yes. Hit my arm 100%. Will the general public have contact with the beings in the craft? No. Will the first contactees be government officials and government people? No. Is this because the government are corrupt and they know, those in the craft know that the governments are corrupt? Yes. I've said this before, I've never really done it on the pendulum, I've never asked on the pendulum, but are the beings inside these craft our higher self, our higher selves? Yes, 100%. The Three-Eye Atlas Armada, or group of craft, have they come here to assist us in breaking free from the current dark and demonic forces? We have, that's a yes, big yes. Hit my arm. Obviously, going forward into next month, there'll be more questions on this. This is for October. Should I stop with the questions now regarding October for Free Eye Atlas? That's what I'm getting to stop. I'm getting told to stop. It's enough. I'm getting a big yes. Okay. So, higher self, is there anything else that you think that I've missed or would be of benefit for the show? No, no. So I think we've got quite a few quite a few weeks coming up. You know, the next 3 weeks are going to be really quite key. And I think and again I shall just, you know, I'll say this then I'll double check with the pendulum. but I actually feel very strongly that we're not going to see much until after the 21st or so of October. Um, I think it's gonna go a little bit quiet and never quiet, but lots of things coming out. But I think we're going to start seeing the bigger things happening, from the 21st and certainly around the 30th are going to be key periods. So higher self, am I correct in my um estimations? Yeah, it's hit my arm straight away. Yeah. So there we go. There we go. Hopefully you found that interesting. Hopefully I asked a few questions that you were interested in finding the answers to. Um, yeah, I think we've got some really interesting times coming up. We're certainly in the storm at the moment. We're certainly really, really amongst it all. And again, if you have any further questions or want clarifications, please do ask. Um, the pendulum is only me asking the questions. It's not like not like card reading or crystal ball reading that you would get off like Isabella, Jenny, or Richard. It's me asking questions for yes and no answers. So it's slightly different. And so there could be something that's very, very obvious that I've missed, and you're going to be screaming, going, "Why didn't you ask this? Why didn't you ask?" Well, there's comments. Please do ask, and if need be for clarifications, I can always do a secondary show. I did last month. I did the main show and then I did a secondary one because there's a few really good questions that came up that I hadn't thought about in a few angles. Okay, but but fundamentally, the banking system is a driver for the BIS. The politicians work for the banking system and the BIS, Bank of International Settlement. They're going to try and put stuff through on the back door on our phones. So be very careful with what you're agreeing to. And it's likely that the the reason why they're pushing this so hard at the moment and trying to force it through so quickly is because the banking industry is on its knees, and they need to be able to put some form of control mechanism to uplift themselves and kind of make some money out of something. It's not going to happen. I think the die is set and the cast is certainly set for the banking industry, and I think that's something we'll be looking into far more in the month of November, because I think we're going to start really seeing the ramifications in November of what's going to be going on. So at the end of the month with the solar storm, we could see some issues. Pendulum wouldn't answer about an EBS or a lockdown or anything like that, which is very interesting. We could have health issues coming to the fore, bit of disclosure, which is going to cause an awful lot of anguish and energy that's really not very nice. Stay safe and that one, support the people. And we could have a left field disclosure about little ones coming out in some way or shape or form, which again will build on the anger. So we've got an awful lot of anger and a lot of energy coming out at the end of this month, along with the sun banging that energy as well. So it could be a very tricky end to the month, very tricky end to the month. But we have the three eye atlas coming in. Contact will be made with individuals, not governments, not those in power, individuals from our own higher selves to support us during this period. And that's and it's something we have to go through. And I think even for those who've done huge amounts of research and have a fairly good idea of what's going on in the world, I think we're going to be shocked to our core on some of the stuff that comes out in the next few months for sure. So we really are in the disclosure part of the show, if we put it that way. So with that, thank you very much for watching and listening. Love, light, and blessings, and I shall catch up with you all very, very soon. Bye bye, everyone.